Hey guys, welcome back here to Advanced Bass Fishing, and appreciate you guys swinging by the channel today to check the video out. And guys, today we're going to be talking about summertime crankbait fishing in shallow water with Squarebill crankbaits, which are two of the best crankbait models that you can fish in the summertime. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over the difference between a balsa or a wood Squarebill crankbait like this Bagley here, or a plastic model like a newer one like this Megabass here. There's a time and place for both of them. If you know how to mix up these two baits, depending upon the conditions and situations, it's definitely going to add up to a lot more fish for you guys. So we'll be talking about that in today's episode. Also, guys, a couple quick things before we get started. I will link some of my favorite Squarebills in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video. If you guys would like to use my link to get a few of them, get you guys set up there. And also, guys, real quick, we've been talking about this. One of the things that I have become a huge believer in the last 3 or 4 months is this Baitpop scent, guys. I have been using this extensively. It's got real fish in it. It's got amino acids, stays on your bait forever, comes in a bunch of different flavors and colors, really easy to apply. You just, put a little bit on your finger like that, rub it into your bait. Definitely, you're going to notice a difference in the amount of strikes you get. So I'll have the Baitpop link in my description of this video if you guys would like to try it too. But give it a try, guys. I guarantee, especially if you're fishing slow baits like a worm or a jig, you'll notice a big difference with that Baitpop. So appreciate that. Okay, Squarebills, we talk about them a lot on all three of my channels because they are one of the top bass catchers there are. There's a lot of different considerations when fishing a Squarebill. Because a Squarebill crankbait, I have caught bass on a Squarebill crankbait anytime the water's over 45 degrees. I had one of my best days on a Squarebill at Lake Wheeler in Alabama when the water temperature was about 46, 47 degrees. And I've also caught them on Squarebills when the water temperature is 90 degrees and everything in between. But like a lot of different lures out there, every month and every time of the year, as far as your water clarity and your water temperatures, is going to dictate different ways you have to fish these things and the type of areas they work in. So I want to dig in today why in the summertime of the year, when I'm shallow cranking, I've got both of these on my deck. I've got a balsa crankbait, I've got a plastic crankbait, and there's a time and place for both of them. Okay, first of all, one of the things that you're going to notice about Squarebill crankbait in the summertime, it is the ultimate reaction strike. Because when you're fishing a Squarebill in the summertime, it's different than any other time because I'm burning this thing. I'm burning it through the water fast. A lot of times, and if the water's a little bit cooler, I'll put like a little bit of weight on the belly and I'll just, fish it a lot slower like that through the water column. But in the summertime, man, I'm just burning this thing crazy through the water to create that reaction strike in the shallow, off-colored warm water. So based upon what you are fishing, it's either a balsa or a plastic crankbait. So I want to go over that with it. Now the plastic crankbait, guys, and this is that Megabass S crank. Like I said, the link's in the description of this video. Best Squarebill you can buy. This is the bait I won the Solo Pro Series last month at Lake of the Ozarks on, the exact bait here. When you want to use a Squarebill crankbait is if any time that you're fishing around rock or grass cover. This, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is about it, but the way that a plastic crankbait will deflect off of rock, you get more bites than balsa. Now, I'm not saying you can't mix them up. Yeah, you can catch fish on rock and wood with a plastic crankbait. You can catch fish on rock and wood with a balsa crankbait. But there are certain times you're going to notice a definite difference on which material is superior for that. So if you're cranking like rocky banks, like steeper rocky banks or riprap banks, something like that, or along a grass edge, a plastic crankbait is going to get you more bites. It doesn't have quite as much buoyancy to it. The way that it deflects off the rocks is a little bit different. Just the way it pushes water is a little bit different. So what I'm looking for in the summertime of the year with a plastic crankbait is I'm looking for the dirtiest water I can find in the lake that I'm fishing. Now, for example, in my part of the country here where I fish the Ozark lakes, Lake of the Ozarks, Table Rock, sometimes Grand Lake in Oklahoma, I try to hunt that dirtiest water, and I want water visibility. I don't want anything over about 1.5 foot clarity. But this is about as clear as I will go with the Squarebill. Preferably, I want it even like that. I want it, 6 or 7 inches in water clarity visibility, simply because a couple of different things. Number one is it puts the fish in that depth zone to be caught on a Squarebill, because a Squarebill is only going to run well, based upon the line test that you're using and the length of your cast, you know, you're talking 3 to 5 foot is sort of like the key zone for it. You're not going to get a squarebill to run much deeper than 5 feet on a traditional squarebill with heavier line. So that stained water is going to put those bass in that really that magical 2 to 3 foot zone that is really, really critical in the summertime of the year. So that's why I want that stained water. So what I'm looking for with that is I'm looking to parallel rock cover with the plastic crankbait. And one of my favorite things to do, guys, is to go to the upper extremity of a creek or a river, and I try to find the steepest bank in the dirtiest water that I can find. I don't care, it can be a bluff bank, it can be just a rocky bank or whatever, but I want the steepest bank because in most lakes that have extremities to them, those extremities have a steep bank on one side and a flat bank on the other side. So I'm going to concentrate the plastic on the steeper rocky bank with that. Now the difference between this is when I use a balsa crankbait, I'm looking for the same situation. I'm looking for the upper extremities and I'm looking for the dirtiest water I can find. But the difference with a balsa is instead of fishing the steep side, like the bluffs and the channel swings and the riprap banks, I'm looking for the flat sides, isolated wood cover. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you're back in the last 2/3 part of the creek you're fishing or in the upper river section. You look over to one side and you got a nice bend in the river channel and there's a nice channel bank. It could be a bluff, it could be a steep bank. And on the opposite side, you got like a flat gravel bank or a mud type bank. But you look over there and you see a lay down log in the water, or you see a fallen tree, or you see a stump in the water. This is where the balsa crankbait comes in, on the flatter wood. Balsa crankbait is a superior bait around wood cover because it has a higher buoyancy and it deflects better off of wood cover. It comes up and over wood cover better, and if you do get hung up a little bit, the buoyancy of it will allow you to flick that bait off of there and get your bait unhung a lot better. And the difference is they just have 2 different sets of vibrational frequency that they put out. The plastic and the lip design of them, they just have different vibrations. And sometimes the bass want a balsa and sometimes they want a plastic. That's why in the summertime of the year, I always have both of them tied on. I've got a couple different models, I've got a couple different profiles, and I got a couple different colors based upon what the fish want. Usually I start out like this. I start out bright. You know, I'll go with like the chartreuse side, black back, you know, if there's shade on the water or low light. And then about 10 o'clock in the morning when it gets brighter, I'll put on the shad pattern. So I'll have both in there. And sometimes I'll mix it up. It just depends on the water clarity. But you need a good selection of both some type of a shad pattern and some type of a brighter chartreuse or some type of a perch pattern. You got to have both. That's the critical thing with it. The next thing with it is you want to use heavy line. Heavy line will help that bait deflect off the cover better. So most of the time I'm going to be using, 20-pound test fluorocarbon, for both of those techniques, for both of those square bills. That's going to allow me to get down in that 3-foot zone or so, especially if that water's dirty. And then ultimately what you have to have is you've got to have a fast stop and go retrieve. You are not going to catch hardly anything on a squarebill crankbait with just some type of regular medium retrieve. Very, very few fish. You need to have a medium fast, bordering on the fast side, erratic stop and go retrieve, and you always want to be hitting something. If you're not deflecting off of a rock on the bottom, or if you're not deflecting off a lay down tree, limb, or a piece of wood where that bait is fighting over something like that, you're not going to catch many. The deflection is the key to triggering a reaction strike. The deflection and the speed of retrieve. So that's the thing to remember, guys. Always make sure your bait is hitting something. Always make sure it's erratic and moving through the water column fast, and it'll generate a quality strike. I mean, there's 25% of the bass will be living in that shallow water, in that dirty water on a bend any lake, and there's very few lures like a squarebill crankbait that will generate a reaction strike like that. So anyway, guys, check them out. I'll put links to both of those type of crankbaits in my tackle warehouse link in the description of this video. One other thing, guys, is you want to use some type of a medium action rod. Since you're reeling that bait fast through the water, you don't want a stiff tip on your rod, because you need that little bit of flex on a fast bait to give that fish just a moment more to get that fish in that bait in its mouth a little more. So make sure you have like some type of a medium action rod. I use that Megabass jerkbait special, which is a 6 foot 11 inch medium tip on it. I'll link that in the Tackle Warehouse description too if you're looking for a good rod for that. So anyway, guys, hope it helps. We'll talk later.